Ava swayed to the loud music on the dance floor of a North London club, relying on alcohol and drugs to escape the disturbing images and pressure in her mind. As she drank tequila to forget her recent troubles, her best friend Cecily pulled the drink away and led her through the crowded room. Cecily expressed deep concern about Ava spiraling out of control, drinking heavily, and not taking her medication regularly after she froze during her performance at the International Cello Competition for several minutes before storming off the stage. Ava promised to take her medication on time, cut down on drinking, and FaceTime Cecily every day for at least 3 hours. Ava hid how badly she was struggling because she did not want Cecily to delay moving to the United States with Jeremy, knowing she had become too dependent on her best friend. After saying goodbye to Cecily and watching her leave with Jeremy, Ava returned to the dance floor, determined to keep drinking and avoid the emptiness waiting for her afterward. She danced closely with a man named Oliver, using the flirtatious interaction as a shield against her dark thoughts. Across the room, she noticed Eli King standing by the bar in black attire, watching her with cold eyes. She also noticed the expensive Patek Philippe watch on his wrist, the custom watch she had secretly arranged for him 7 years earlier and given to him through Aunt Elsa, without revealing that it came from her. The memory of Eli coldly rejecting her confession still hurt despite the years that had passed, leaving Ava determined to resent him and provoke a reaction whenever she could. To annoy him, Ava danced provocatively against Oliver and mouthed "fuck you" in Eli's direction, receiving only an amused, sadistic smirk in return before he disappeared from the bar. When her younger sister Ariella texted, "It's an emergency," Ava went to her private VIP room and called her. Ariella admitted she had invented the emergency to check on Ava after she froze during the competition, and the sisters playfully bargained over Remy's schedule. Ava promised to tell their parents she was doing okay, and said they would talk tomorrow after her hangover. As their conversation ended, the door opened and Eli walked in, blocking the exit. Ava asked with her practiced bored voice what brought this displeasure. Eli then moved away from the door and turned the question back on her, asking what she had done to owe him the displeasure. Ava once worshipped Eli like a god when she was younger, but that devotion has turned into bitter loathing after he broke her heart. Standing in the private room, Eli mocks her dramatic dancing and suggests she was putting on a show for his attention, saying she had been looking at him the entire time while acting like a prostitute. Ava trades sarcastic retorts with him, refusing to let his presence intimidate her. Ava knows Eli is a master manipulator and a predator who would not hesitate to use people's weaknesses against them. Eli confronts her about fleeing the cello competition, demanding to know what she saw or failed to see, and mentions that his mother Elsa asked him about her unstable state of mind. Since their families are close and his mother, Elsa King, is Ava's godmother, Eli is aware of her condition, but Ava assumes he thinks it is depression, anxiety, and a mild case of psychosis. He then firmly orders her to go straight home in a cab and stop acting recklessly. Refusing to obey him, Ava returns to the club floor to drink, dance, and join her friends for an after-party. Later that night, she declines Oliver's offer to drive her, texts Cecily that she is home safe even though she is not, and after Eli, whom she has saved as Tin Man, asks if she is going home and warns that her location better be on the way home, she snaps a selfie with a kissy face and sends it to mock him. Eli's earlier question about what she saw or did not see sends a shiver down Ava's spine, making her wonder whether he could have known, before she notices a strange car following closely behind her with its headlights turned off. Alarmed by the pursuit, she calls the police and gives her name as Ava Nash. Just as she glances at her navigation screen while speaking to the operator, a lorry horn blares, and its bright lights blind her. Ava desperately spins the steering wheel and slams the brakes, causing the car to swerve and crash violently as the last thing she sees are the dark, cold, destructive eyes that follow her everywhere. Ava wakes up with a bitter taste in her dry throat, struggling through foggy darkness until the sounds and smells of the hospital bring her back to reality. She recites her personal facts to pull herself out of the disorientation, only to discover Eli sitting at her bedside, holding her warm hand. Confused by his disheveled look and uncharacteristic gentleness as he strokes her face and calls her beautiful, she wonders if the entire situation, or even the accident, is a dream before pulling off her oxygen mask and asking why he is there. Her father, Cole Nash, and her mother, Silver Queens Nash, enter the room looking exhausted and worn down, as if they have aged 5 years since the last time she saw them. A look of mutual understanding passes between her father and Eli, even though her father has never liked Eli and has called him a little psycho since he was 12. He hated Eli even more when Ava had a stupid crush on him and warned her to avoid him, as if Eli were a spark of fire and she were a house pumped full of petrol. He is also the only person who enthusiastically joins in whenever Ava talks shit about Eli. When her mother asks if she remembers what happened, Ava mentions that she called 999 before the accident because someone was following her. Her parents exchange tense looks and ask if someone followed her inside the house, and whether anyone else was there when she fell down the stairs. Even more bewildering to Ava, when she wants to call Cece, her mother says that Cecily has already been living in the United States for about a month and is now on her way from the States. Several doctors and nurses enter the room, and the doctor addresses Ava as Mrs. King. Confused by the unfamiliar title, Ava looks around for Aunt Elsa, Eli's mother, Aunt Astrid, Eli's aunt, and Eli's grandmother, since they are the Mrs. Kings she knows, but she finds none of them. Eli watches her with a cruel tilt to his lips, telling Ava that the doctor is addressing her because they got married 2 years ago. Ava is stunned into silence by the doctor's question, searching the room for any sign of a joke before trying to laugh it off. The doctor asks her what year it is, and Ava insists that the whole thing needs to stop, that she is only 21, and that they should stop calling her Mrs. King. Eli coldly informs her that she is 23 and that they have been married for over 2 years. When Ava looks to her parents, their heartbroken reactions confirm the truth. She realizes she is the one they sometimes have to be careful around because she was born with a defective brain and a serious case of psychosis. She has also been replacing her medication with alcohol and drugs. Reality now hits her that she has lost 2 entire years of her memories. The doctor suspects she has a form of dissociative selective amnesia and explains that there is no clear way to recover the missing memories except through a supportive environment. After her parents leave, Ava manages to get Eli out by saying she needs girl time with Cecily and Ariella. They sit beside her hospital bed to comfort her. Cecily and Ariella tell Ava that she fell down the stairs, but she has no memory of the fall and only remembers the night at the club. Ava notices Cecily wearing a huge diamond ring and learns that she got engaged to Jeremy a year ago on an island. Ava learns that Kill and Glyn are also engaged and have been touring the world, while Annie and Cray, Lon and Mia, and Bran and Nico are engaged as well. Bran and Nico plan to marry before Cecily and Jeremy because Nico is in a hurry. Ariella reveals that Ava had refused to let anyone interfere with her decision to marry Eli, despite her family's strong opposition. Her father nearly drowned Eli in his pool, chased him with a golf club, and even sent men to beat him up, while arguing with Ava's mother over the marriage. Her mother eventually took Ava to the countryside for 2 weeks until he calmed down. Ava also chose Eli as her legal guardian instead of her father, who almost refused to walk her down the aisle before changing his mind at the last moment. Ava struggles to understand why she would choose Eli against her family, especially when she cannot remember telling even Cecily the reason. When she asks to see the wedding pictures, Cecily shows her photos of Ava in a grand designer gown beside Eli, where she notices fear, coldness, and detachment in her own eyes. When Ava insists she had a car crash after leaving the club 2 years ago, Cecily and Ariella reveal there was never an accident and that she simply returned home safely that night. Suddenly, a frightening flashback hits Ava of Eli gripping her jaw and threatening to sew her mouth shut if she did not keep quiet. As the terrifying memory floods her mind, Eli enters the room and tells her she has been discharged, then orders her to get ready so he can take her home. Eli builds his life around reason, strategy, and absolute control as the eldest heir to 2 of the world's largest empires, while deliberately staying out of the public eye and maintaining an enigmatic reputation. Standing in the clinic room, Eli insists on taking Ava home despite Ariella arguing that she should stay with their parents until she gets used to her new reality. As Ava reluctantly agrees to leave with him, Eli gives her 15 minutes to get dressed. Stepping into the hallway, Eli calls his assistant Henderson to confirm that the house has been prepared, with surveillance footage deleted, a new security system installed, hazardous areas blocked off, clothes replaced with exact replicas, and most staff replaced so Ava finds no trace of what happened before her fall. After the call, Ariella confronts Eli in the corridor, demanding the truth about what happened before Ava fell down the stairs and warning that she knows it was not an accident. Ariella asks how many more times Eli can hide the truth before everyone finds out. Eli covers her mouth and harshly orders her to remain silent about the situation, warning that if she becomes a liability, he will keep her out of any future plans. Eli intends to keep Ava from discovering what happened before the fall. Ariella admits she is afraid she will lose Ava, but Eli assures her that Ava will be safe as long as he is there. When Ariella tries to bargain for Remy's work schedule in exchange for her cooperation, Eli refuses because she had suggested Ava return to her parents. Leaving an angry Ariella behind, Eli heads back to Ava's room, determined to take his wife home and keep her there. An hour later, Ava leaves the hospital with a few bruises and no memories, making it clear she is only going with Eli to find answers. Eli leans close and quietly responds in his deep voice, dismissing her with the name Mrs. King. Eli guides her into the waiting Mercedes, holding his hand over the roof to protect her head. As they sit in the back seat, Ava demands her wedding ring, and Eli pulls out the massive pink diamond ring, holding it in midair while looking at his phone. When Ava challenges him to look at her while giving it to her if he is actually her husband, Eli warns her to watch her mouth. She fires back that he should have thought about that before marrying her, and Eli admits he questions the marriage too. He then claims Ava had been infatuated with him for years and begged him to marry her. Ava says that even if she had begged him, which she insists is not true, she asks why he said yes, and Eli says he has always had a soft spot for begging. After their argument, Eli roughly slides the ring onto her finger. Ava then insists on getting a divorce and threatens to take him to court, but Eli refuses and tells her to think about their marriage logically. When she argues that there is no love between them and asks why he married her, he explains that the marriage benefited them both. He needed a wife for his image, while she needed a husband to leave her parents' orbit and hide her self-destructive behavior, reckless habits, and worsening mental breakdowns. Ava falls into stunned silence as they arrive at a grand Edwardian estate with a pink-decorated greenhouse. At the entrance, they are greeted by the reserved house manager Sam and Eli's assistant Leonardo Henderson. Eli escorts Ava upstairs through pink-decorated halls. When Ava bumps into Eli's chest, he mocks her for already throwing herself into his arms and tells her to control herself. When she insists she will never let him touch her, he tells her that he has already touched her and that if he wants to fuck her, she will bend over and take it. He says he was not impressed, but can give her a chance for a redo. Shaken and deeply upset, Ava curses at him, telling him to fuck off, and storms into what she assumes is her bedroom, slamming the door shut. She sinks against the door and breaks down in tears, mourning the part of herself she believes she surrendered to a man she hates. Ava swats Sam's hand away in the greenhouse to protect her dahlias, arguing with the quiet house manager about being constantly monitored. She resents living under strict supervision since Eli took over as her legal guardian and replaced her previous psychiatrist with Dr. Blaine. Frustrated by Eli avoiding her for a full week and hiding all alcohol from the house, Ava decides to go out. She heads to the garage and tries to drive away, but Henderson refuses to open the gates on Eli's strict orders. Ava calls Eli directly to demand the gates be opened, but he insists that Henderson drive her. Instead, Ava decides to mess with him, chooses Eli's black Bugatti, and slides into the driver's seat. She accelerates toward the exit, forcing the garage door and front gate open before slightly damaging the car's bumper as she speeds away. Seeking freedom, Ava heads to an exclusive Mayfair club to meet her university friends, buying lavish rounds of drinks and expensive cigars on Eli's credit card. However, her friends Gemma, Z, Raj, and Ahmed act guarded around her and refuse to share any drinks or drugs. They reveal that Eli threatened their futures and families with severe consequences if they ever allowed Ava to use substances around them. As Ava tries to ask Gemma about the night from 2 years ago, Eli suddenly appears and takes the drink from her hands. Gemma says in a honeyed tone that Ava only wanted a change of scenery while flirting with Eli. Ava immediately reminds her that Eli is her husband and that they communicate well, so Gemma does not need to speak for her. Eli plays along, claiming they have an engagement that evening and insisting that he and Ava leave together. Ava responds with fake affection and takes Gemma's drink as she stands, then downs it while holding Eli's furious gaze. She lets the empty glass shatter onto the floor, and Eli scoops her into his arms and carries her out of the club while warning her to keep her mouth shut. Eli carries a protesting Ava to his car, places her in the passenger seat, and leans close to buckle her seat belt amid sharp, tense banter. As he drives her home, Ava demands a divorce, but Eli refuses and warns her against returning to reckless substance abuse. After a brief silence, Ava brings up the last night she remembers, when she met Eli in the VIP room, and asks whether he followed her after she left the club. When Ava asks what he would have seen if he had followed her, Eli claims she stopped by the side of the road, probably too drunk or high to realize where she was, before he drove her home safely out of respect for his mother. Relieved by his explanation, Ava enters the estate while Eli leaves for a high-society business gathering at a private club. There, Eli discusses his duties at King Enterprises with his father, including the competitive threat posed by his cousin Landon King. His father advises him on managing his marriage, warning that competing with his wife will only lead to failure. Eli returns home after midnight to the sound of Ava's cello filling the house, while an alarmed Sam and Henderson tell him she has been playing continuously for an hour. Fearing another dangerous dissociative episode, Eli hurries upstairs and finds Ava playing the cello with an empty, distant gaze. Eli steps closer and calls her, but gets no reply. She keeps playing and looks up at him with the same empty eyes, making him think it is the stranger again. He thinks it hasn't been long, so she shouldn't be having another episode so soon, and there is no way he will take Dr. Blaine's alternative option. He gently touches her cheek and lips, and she trembles beneath his touch and breathes heavily. As her eyes widen, she suddenly snaps out of the episode and yells, "What are you doing here? Get out, pervert!" Eli feels immense relief when he realizes it is not the stranger. It is his fucking wife. 17-year-old Ava mingles with guests at her birthday celebration, feeling tense despite putting on a cheerful face. She greets Cecily and Glynn, along with Glynn's twin brothers Landon and Bran, whose personalities and styles sharply contrast. Her younger sister Ariella rushes over with Remy, while Creighton remains quiet nearby. Remy and Landon openly tease Ava about her obvious infatuation with Eli, revealing that Remy shared her secret crush in their group chat, which includes Eli. Landon warns Ava that Eli is an emotionless prick who collects little girls' broken hearts in a jar and sacrifices them to his demons, telling her not to be a heart in a jar. Ava has had a crush on Eli since she was 12. She knows the age difference works against her, and that an 18-year-old would never have looked at a 12-year-old that way. So Ava waited a whole 5 years to grow older and seem like an adult. She even stopped sleeping with stuffed animals to completely leave the child phase behind. She planned to confess her feelings with a letter she had carefully written a month earlier, but after hearing what the boys said, she decides it may no longer be a good idea. Later that evening, Ava spots Eli by the pool speaking with her mother's assistant, Kylie, and jealousy pushes her to approach them. Ava interrupts them by falsely claiming that his mother is asking for him, then leads Eli to the private greenhouse. Eli immediately knows she lied about his mother and coldly dismisses her. When Ava says she has something to tell him, he refuses to listen and tells her to go back and celebrate with people her own age. Desperate to prove that she is no longer a child, Ava throws her arms around Eli and kisses him passionately, making it her first kiss. At first, his lips don't move, and she keeps brushing her mouth against his, licking and stroking. Eli's lips finally move, and the caress of his lower lip is harsh before he bites her lower lip hard enough to draw blood, grips her hair, and pulls her back roughly. Ava confesses her long-standing feelings for him, but Eli rejects her without mercy, declaring that he does not care about her and warning that this is his first and final warning. He then leaves, making it clear that if she attempts anything foolish again, he will ruin her. Back in the present, Ava feels the tension tighten around her as Eli sits on the edge of her bed and refuses to leave while she tries to practice the cello. The cello has always been her perfect outlet until she substituted it with an unhealthy addiction to alcohol and drugs. Channeling her frustration, Ava plays the sixth movement of Bach's Cello Suite No. 3 with fiery intensity and receives a slow clap and an unexpected compliment from Eli. He gently traces her cheek and tilts her chin up, studying her with an unsettling intensity before telling her to sleep well. Ava is confused by his sudden change because he had been avoiding her and normally treats her with contempt. The following morning, Ava enters the kitchen in a short velvet skirt and tries to ignore Eli as he reads the newspaper. When she refuses his order to sit down, Eli grabs her by the waist and pulls her onto his lap. Ava realizes his dick is thickening and lengthening between her thighs as he holds her firmly against him, and she tries to mock him rather than show how affected she is. Eli tightens his grip, pulls her back against him, and taunts her about how uncomfortable she seems. Their tense encounter is interrupted when his brother, Cray, arrives with Annie, who covers her eyes in amusement at finding them together. Ava quickly frees herself from Eli's grasp and embraces Annie, thrilled to see her friend, who is now Cray's fiancée and her future sister-in-law. Cray reminds Eli that he knew they were coming, and Eli complains about their timing before the conversation turns to taking Ava out for the day. Cray invites Ava to spend the day out with them, but Eli objects to her short skirt and orders her to change before leaving the house. Rather than argue and lose the chance to spend time with her friends, Ava pushes past Eli and heads upstairs, secretly planning her payback for his controlling demand. Ava and Annika spend the morning shopping on Bond Street, while Cray follows them with visible boredom, perking up only when Annie tries on a spaghetti-strap purple dress. After packing their bags into the car, Cray takes them to an exclusive sushi restaurant in South Kensington. While enjoying the meal, Ava listens to the couple exchange affectionate remarks and thinks her own life is as dry as the desert. When Annie brings up Ava's marriage, Ava avoids revealing the truth about her arrangement with Eli. Also, something tells her there is a big chunk missing from the story he fed her. When Ava mentions crashing Eli's car and spending his money, Cray reminds her that over the past few years, whenever she caused trouble, Eli made it his mission to retaliate tenfold worse, and tells her to try a different tactic, especially since she tied the knot. Ava replies that knots can be untied and insists that if she decides she wants out of this, she can simply retreat. When the conversation turns to her cello practice, her old friend Vance Elliott approaches the table to greet Ava. Ava welcomes him warmly and introduces him to her companions as a school darling, while Cray remains openly hostile toward him. Eli suddenly arrives, placing a possessive hand on Ava's neck and kissing her cheek in front of the others before making it clear that Vance is intruding. When Vance leaves, Ava ignores Eli's order to stay seated, breaks away from his grip, and chases after him toward the stairs. She apologizes for her husband's behavior, and when Vance tells her he is always there for her, Ava decides to test Eli's composure. She wraps her arms around Vance's neck and pretends she is about to kiss him, hoping to finally see her husband lose his temper. Before she can do anything more, Eli yanks her back against his chest with crushing force. He calmly threatens Vance, warning that he will pay with his life if he ever touches Ava again. Vance quickly steps away and leaves the restaurant. Eli pulls Ava close, his calm demeanor slipping into pure darkness, and whispers in her ear, "You're so fucked, Mrs. King." With a stroke of luck from a passing waitress, Ava manages to escape the tense confrontation and return to their table, shaken. Cray and Annie comment on her impulsive behavior, while Ava firmly insists that Eli does not own her. Eli joins them at that moment and challenges her statement with cold authority, maintaining a suffocating silence that leaves Ava fuming. Seeking an escape from the charged atmosphere, Ava excuses herself to the restroom, where she stares at her reflection and wonders how she managed to overcome her drinking habits over the last couple of months. She remembers that Cecily and Ari said Eli had signed her up for a program, but they were vague about the details. Unable to imagine willingly being locked up anywhere, she wonders how Eli managed to turn her from a raging alcoholic into this state, knowing it could not have been easy. A sudden, vivid flash strikes her mind, bringing back a memory of her wrists bound to the bedposts while Eli stood over her, forcing her mouth open and shoving something between her clenched teeth. Ava gags and swallows in fear as he ignores her desperate pleas to let her go. She is jolted back to the present when the door opens and Eli walks into the room, methodically rolling up his sleeves. He demands to know why she wrapped her arms around another man. She says Vance is only a friend, and that Eli does not own her. He grips her throat and warns her never to let another man touch what is his, but she challenges him, saying she was the one who was hot and bothered and couldn't keep her hands off Vance. In a flash, he spins her around, bends her over the marble sink, and grips her nape. He hikes her skirt up, exposing her lace panties, and the scent of her arousal mixes with his cologne in the air. His palm strokes her arse gently at first, then pinches it hard and slaps it until she whimpers. He reaches under her blouse, squeezes her nipple in a painful, erotic pull, and rubs her center through the fabric while claiming every part of her body as his. He fists her hair, yanks her head up, forces his fingers into her mouth, and makes her suck them while she stares at her flushed face in the mirror. Then he parts her panties and thrusts his wet fingers deep inside her tight, dripping center, making loud, slick sounds. As he continues and forces her to watch herself, she comes hard, shaking against the counter. But when she nears a second peek, he pulls out, rips off the soaked panties, and stuffs the scrap into her mouth with his fingers, ordering her to lick them clean. She does it more enthusiastically, lapping her tongue around his fingers and deep-throating them as she stares into his eyes. He slips his fingers out and tells her not to flirt. Ava asks him to finish what he started, sliding her arse up and down his erection. Eli coldly tells her that she lost that opportunity when she challenged him, and that only good girls get rewarded. He takes a photo of her bent over with her arse in the air and the underwear in her mouth, then leaves her unsatisfied and furious, feeling dreadful about how this little episode changes everything. In the family group chat, Landon hints that he has learned something interesting while Remington, Cray, and Brandon exchange banter about the family business. When Cray mentions Eli, the conversation turns to Eli's demanding nature. Cray brings up the recent public incident involving Vance and teases Eli about the heated bathroom encounter that followed. Landon then claims that something drastic happened to Ava before her supposed accident, casting suspicion on Eli before Eli abruptly leaves the chat. In the kitchen, Eli confronts Ava over her revealing outfit, but she casually dismisses his demand to change. Fighting his fierce physical fixation on her, Eli steps closer, grips her nape, and reminds her what happens when she misbehaves, asking whether she is doing this on purpose so he can use her again. Ava pushes back defiantly, telling him she has no interest in a repeat of the experience. But their clash is cut short when Sam and Henderson bring in the morning mail. Ava opens a letter inviting her to perform at an Arts Foundation event, and grows genuinely excited. He tells her he has arranged a companion for her shopping trip. When Ava asks whether it is Mama and Papa, Eli replies that her father still goes through phases where he loves to chase him away with a knife, making her laugh. The joyful sound echoes around them, and Eli finds himself enchanted and completely captivated, with nothing better to do than watch her genuine smile for the first time in 6 years. Up until now, he has been the subject of either her glares or fake smiles, never the reason behind her laughs and sunshiny personality. Henderson then brings in Gemma Bonneville as Ava's shopping companion, and Ava hides her annoyance behind a polite greeting. When Gemma says she will keep an eye on Ava, Eli tells her to simply entertain his wife instead. Eli uses Gemma as an informant because she is a useful link to Ava's former friend group and readily provides information, including helping him ruin Ava's past suitors. After the women head upstairs, Sam and Henderson warn Eli that bringing a snake into the house risks being bitten. Eli dismisses their concern, saying Gemma is as harmless as a fly. As they head out, Henderson says he is not sure but suspects Landon knows about some things happening in the house. Eli tells him to leave Landon to him. He reflects that no one will know the extent he had to go to for Ava to be in her current state. Even if it's not permanent, he wants to prolong this period for as long as possible before she forgets him again. Maybe this time it'll be for good. Pacing the dressing room in her tulle dress, Ava expresses deep doubts about performing, but her sister Ariella encourages her and reminds her of her musical talent. Ava feels uneasy about her husband's recent absence and his attempt to push Gemma into her company, secretly annoyed that Eli seems indifferent to her practice. After Ariella steps out to take her place in the audience, Ava receives a surprising text from Eli, reassuring her that she has played the cello since she was 5 and, after nearly 2 decades of experience, should be mastering the instrument, not the other way around. He ends with, "Show them what you're made of, Mrs. King." Stepping onto the stage before a bustling crowd, Ava feels nervous until she spots Eli standing beside Henderson and Ariella, raising a glass of champagne in her direction. Settling into her seat, she loses herself in the difficult piece, playing for her own healing while still wanting her husband to watch her. As the hall erupts into applause, Eli approaches the stage, carrying a massive bouquet of pink flowers, and praises her performance. When he suggests going out together to celebrate, Ava jokingly asks whether he is asking her on a date, and he agrees before sending Ariella home with Henderson. Back in the dressing room, Ava finds another text from Eli telling her she looks stunning, leaving her confused by his sudden change from a certified bastard to a flirt, an actual husband. Ava's phone vibrates again, and she sees her sister's name. Ariella complains that Eli kicked her out before she could congratulate Ava, and says she is sending the performance video to Mama and Papa. Ava thanks her, and Ariella offers to come back with Lon to teach her brother-in-law a lesson. Ava tells her to drop the act, saying she knows Ariella likes Eli and that the two of them talk all the time behind her back. Ava suddenly wonders how she knows that, realizing she has no clear memories to back it up. Ariella is relieved that Ava seems to be remembering things little by little and offers to come back, but Ava declines. She resolves to face her complicated marriage directly, determined to make Eli regret ever marrying her. Ava is surprised when Eli takes her to an elegant rooftop French restaurant overlooking London, where she notices the waitress flirting with him despite his wedding ring. At their table, Eli orders non-alcoholic champagne with their food. Ava teases him for being obvious about trying to keep her off alcohol and points out that he can drink, but Eli says he refuses to present her with temptation. Ava asks how she overcame her alcohol addiction and whether she went to rehab. When Eli hints at a less conventional method, Ava asks whether it involved being tied to a bed and forced to take medication. He dismisses it as another dream, but then reveals that he also knows about her hallucination of slicing her own throat and watching herself die in the mirror. She trembles and asks how he knows, but Eli says she told him, reminding her that after 2 years of marriage, he knows more about her than she thinks. She thinks no one should have access to that part of her. Even her therapist gets only a diluted version of her harrowing hallucinations. She tells Eli she would never have shared something so intimate with him. His revelation triggers a painful memory from when Ava was about 13, when she overheard her parents discussing her worsening nightmares. Her father feared she might eventually become like his mother and blamed his genes for her struggles, while her mother explained that his mother had no support, and part of the reason she did what she did was due to the lack of care from those around her. She reassured him that Ava would always have their support. At that moment, 2 distinct feelings hit Ava. First, that she knew nothing about her paternal grandmother except that she had died in an accident. Second, that she was a burden to her parents. Returning to the present, Ava tries to hide her tears, but Eli notices and tells her that their marriage does not have to remain fake. When she questions his capacity for love, Eli says she already has his unbound protection and that he can give her children if that is what she wants. But love is not something he is capable of giving, and he presumes she wouldn't want it from him either. His words sting more than Ava wants to admit, but instead of pushing him further away, she decides to use the situation to her advantage. She plans to make Eli so attached to her that she can divorce him and move on with her life. She asks for companionship and tells him to court her properly. Eli questions why he would need to court her when they are already married and points out that she already has his name. She tells him to take it or leave it, and when he asks whether leaving changes anything, she says it will deny him access to what he truly wants. When he asks what that is, she slides her shoe up his leg and caresses his dick. Eli says that, as tempting as the offer is, he'll have to pass. Ava deliberately pushes back, then turns her attention to the flirtatious waitress and publicly asserts that she is Eli's wife before announcing they are leaving. After stepping outside first, Ava realizes she has left her phone and purse inside and waits on the cold street. An old woman approaches and calls her Ava Nash, a name no one has used since she woke up in the hospital. When Ava asks how the woman knows her name, she says she'll pay for what she's done and not to think she'll ever get away with it when she hasn't. When Eli steps outside carrying her purse and phone, the woman suddenly vanishes. Ava realizes she looked exactly like an aged version of her deceased grandmother, who has been dead for more than 30 years. Realizing she may have hallucinated the woman, Ava spirals into panic until Eli places his jacket around her shoulders, guides her breathing, reassures her that he is real, and carries her to the car. Eli confronts his cousin Landon over a video call as Landon mocks his ruthless ambition and constant need for control. Landon brings up the disappearance of Ava's former therapist, describing him as bright, professional, and particularly close to Ava, then hints that her fall down the stairs was not an accident, directly casting suspicion on Eli. Eli remains impassive and warns that Mia Sokoloff will disappear if Landon interferes in his marriage or crosses him. After ending the call, Eli monitors the surveillance cameras throughout the estate, still troubled by Ava's breakdown earlier that evening. When he notices her bed is empty, he checks the cameras throughout the house before finding her standing in the back garden under a heavy downpour after 1 a.m. Rushing outside with an umbrella, Eli finds Ava staring blankly at the cloudy sky in a dazed, dissociated trance. He tells her, "Let's get you inside, beautiful." Ava asks whether he finds her beautiful, and he tells her she is so extremely beautiful that it sometimes hurts to look at her. She touches his face to confirm he is real, then pulls him into a sudden kiss, biting his lip until he tastes blood. Eli is startled because she usually avoids his touch and his presence can trigger her episodes. After seeing her stable for weeks, he had assumed she was making a fresh start, but now realizes he was wrong to keep touching her, dating her, and encouraging her to pick up her passion again. In her fragile, haunted state, she whispers that she is going to hurt him, then asks him to fuck her because she wants to get laid, offering to let him tie her up and do whatever he pleases. Eli exercises immense restraint to avoid taking advantage of her vulnerable condition. He knows that her family would take her away for treatment if they found out about this, and he's been there before and would not repeat it. As her legal guardian, he believes they have no right to interfere unless they're ready to sabotage and sully her lucid moments. He brings her inside, takes her to the bathroom, unzips her soaked dress, and gently dries her shivering body. He dresses her in a clean silk nightgown, carries her to bed, and tucks her beneath the duvet. Ava kisses his lips once more before quietly drifting off to sleep. Watching her peaceful face, he nearly forgets that he is married to what society considers a madwoman. Worse, she does not know it, and he intends to keep it that way. The morning comes with a surprisingly refreshing start, leaving Ava feeling more well-rested than ever. Descending the stairs in a floral dress, Ava feels grateful yet conflicted about Eli's gentle care during her panic attack the night before. She joins Sam in the kitchen for breakfast and learns that Eli left for work hours ago. Ava mentions a vague dream in which Eli dried her hair and kissed her forehead, which Sam hints may not be entirely impossible. Ava persuades a reluctant Sam to teach her how to cook, promising not to poison Eli. She burns the lentil soup and makes a mess while baking a chocolate strawberry cake. During the cooking lesson, Sam points out that Eli is drastically different from the Eli Ava knew 6 years ago and tells her that their push-and-pull game needs less pulling before it becomes tiresome. Later that evening, after practicing her cello and growing restless over Eli's continued absence, Ava goes downstairs in a dress with a more daring neckline and takes a bucket of cotton candy to the library. To deliberately provoke her husband's strict sense of order, she takes pictures of her sticky fingers, the bucket of candy floss, and the mountain of his books, then sends them to him along with pictures of the marked pages and playful taunts. When Eli finally comes home and finds her in the library, he notices her short dress and questions her behavior around the household staff. Undeterred, Ava provocatively sucks the sugary candy from her fingers. She knows it is a dangerous strategy when she also wants him, but she has to disarm him somehow. If seduction is the only way, she will gladly play the game. Taking it further, she deep-throats her fingers and sucks and licks them with fervor, mimicking what she did to him the other day. Seeing his dark gaze narrow with simmering desire, she slides her fingers out with a pop. Ava moves to return to her book, but Eli suddenly seizes her ankles, flips her over with her legs parted, and pins her. Trapping her beneath his imposing frame, Eli tells her that, in that case, it is better they give them something fun to remember them by. He then crashes his lips against hers. Eli kisses Ava intensely, leaving her stunned that after years of rejecting and humiliating her through a kiss, he is the one kissing her now. It is not a simple kiss but a possessive one that leaves her head spinning. When he breaks away, Ava defiantly challenges his restraint, asking if that is all, and admitting she is kind of disappointed. Eli flips her onto her stomach, binds her wrists with his necktie, and delivers dark, intoxicating promises of marking her skin while giving her one chance to plead with him to stop. Instead, Ava breathlessly urges him to continue. Eli orders her onto her knees with her arse up. He shoves her dress up, tears the fabric, grabs and twists her bare nipples, then pushes her underwear down and strokes her dripping core. When she refuses to behave around the staff, he slaps her core until she cries out. He parts her thighs and licks and sucks her core until she comes hard with her face pressed into a book. Afterward, Eli unties her wrists, but when she gently asks about the cut on his lip, he walks out of the room. He leaves her throbbing, rejected, and in searing emotional pain. That night, Eli leaves for a week-long business trip to the United States, leaving Sam to care for Ava and provide her with soothing gel. The whole week, Ava throws herself into cello practice and spends Eli's money on charities to cleanse his satanic soul. Later, she receives texts from Eli about her performance that night. They exchange sharp messages, with Ava telling him he cannot handle her, so he runs away as far as he can, and asking why he does not divorce her and spare them both the hassle. Eli replies that the D word is not going to happen and tells her to remove it from her vocabulary, adding that it is not that he cannot handle her, it's the other way around. He ends by telling her not to agitate herself before a performance. She performs successfully at another nonprofit event and later invites both families to dinner, where her father, Cole, clashes openly with Eli's father, Aiden, while Elsa and Silver offer warm support. In the restroom, Silver asks Ava about her routine and medication, and Ava insists that she is stable and living normally. After her mother steps out, Ava accidentally drops her bag, and her open perfume bottle releases a floral scent. Static passes through her head, and a blurry image hits her. Rough hands gripping her naked waist as she presses against a hard chest, primal desire building between them. She reaches up and encircles the neck of a man whose face is shrouded in darkness, but whose presence feels commanding and alluring. Then she hears her own voice saying, "We shouldn't do this. My husband would kill me if he found out." Eli meets his cousins at a newly opened bar, where sharp insults and dark banter are exchanged across the booth. Cray points out Eli's foul mood throughout the week, while Bran tries to keep the peace. After Eli leaves the bar, Cecily stops him outside to ask about Ava's well-being, hesitating over how to broach the subject. Eli tells Cecily she can name it. Ava's condition has a diagnosis, psychosis, and avoiding the word will not help anyone. He insists she is fine, especially since she chose to pick up the cello again and is enjoying performing. Cecily argues that Ava needs closer supervision and more intensive therapy, warning that Eli's false hope could make things worse. Eli refuses to baby his wife or allow anyone to interfere with his guardianship. As Eli walks away, Cecily whispers that Ava will hurt him. Eli replies over his shoulder that it is a good thing he is the Tin Man, catching a glimpse of her sad smile. When Henderson tells Eli that Ava is missing after her recital and her phone tracker has been turned off, Eli immediately takes a flight back to find her. After tracing her to Gemma's lavish Chelsea flat, where a chaotic party had continued through the night, Eli pushes past the sleeping guests and finds the outdoor pool at 7 in the morning. He discovers Ava sitting on the edge of the pool, chatting with Vance as he swims. Eli steps forward with cold threats toward Vance before yanking Ava to her feet to take her away. When Vance offers to help, Ava places a firm hand on Eli's chest, thanks him, and guides her husband away from the pool. On the stairs, Eli tells Ava that Vance will disappear the more she takes a liking to him. Ava then asks what would happen to her if he caught her with another man. Eli lifts her chin and says he would claim her over the other man's corpse, so she remembers who the fuck she belongs to. Gemma then reappears and invites them to stay for breakfast, but Eli refuses and takes Ava to the waiting car. He questions whether the party was worth missing her medication and worrying Sam, while Ava insists she took it. Noticing how unusually quiet she is, Eli asks what happened, but Ava dismisses the question and says she only wanted to catch up with her friends. When he challenges her further, she reminds him that he broke her heart, then asks whether he was afraid she would move out. Eli asks if she would have, and Ava says no, but she would have moved all his stuff to the garden and left it to soak in the rain. 3 days later, Ava's attempts to avoid Eli fall apart when she enters his home office. She reminds herself that they are not truly in a relationship and that she should not feel guilty about a supposed cheating episode she barely recalls. She went around asking the possible suspects at Gemma's party, but came up with nothing. Eli asks if she has been throwing a tantrum because of his trip to the States. He thinks she is avoiding him because of that, and Ava figures anything is better than him finding out the actual reason. She ignores his comments and brings up the charity event Sam mentioned. Eli confirms it, and when she asks why she should attend, he says it is because she is his wife. When she argues that this only makes her his +1, Eli tells her to quit the dramatics and returns to work. Ava then decides to make her point by disrupting his perfectly ordered office, throwing books around and knocking over an ink pot that splatters black ink everywhere to tease his OCD tendencies. Eli remains eerily calm, corners her against his desk, and grips her as he tells her to shut her fucking mouth before he fills it with something guaranteed to keep it occupied. Unwilling to back down, Ava agrees to attend on 2 conditions. He must ask her properly and give her enough time to prepare, and he must spend real afternoon time with her. To Ava's surprise, Eli agrees to both terms, and she impulsively hugs him before rushing off to prepare. After an hour, Ava descends the stairs in a revealing red chiffon maxi dress with a daring slit, but Eli immediately tells her to change because she looks perfectly tempting. In the car, Eli tells her to at least remove her lipstick. When she protests, he grips her throat and warns her not to fuck with him because he does not appreciate sharing his things with others. When she tries to pull back, he grabs a fistful of her hair and speaks with his lips brushing hers. At the charity event, Ava mingles warmly with guests and joins Eli as he meets a business partner named Matthew. While Eli steps away to handle business matters, Vance approaches Ava and compliments her. Wondering whether Vance might be the man from her hazy memories, Ava quietly asks whether anything happened between them during the lost years. Vance responds suggestively, but before he can answer, Eli charges in, punches him across the buffet table, and breaks his nose. Eli drags Ava away from the shocked crowd and shoves her into a private supply room. His angry words cut through her as he asks, "Is he the fucker you cheated on me with?" Ava stares into Eli's cold, furious gray eyes as his fingers dig painfully into her arms. He demands to know whether she went to Vance while wearing his wedding ring. Ava insists she cannot remember anything, but Eli reveals that Gemma told him about her flashback of kissing another man and asks her who it might have been. Ava says the flashback was nothing, but Eli tells her not to lie, and she points out that he had dismissed her other memory of being tied up and forced to take pills as false. Realizing he lied, she demands to know why. Eli admits he did it because she was not ready to learn that tying her up for hours and forcing her into rehab was the only way to stop her alcoholism. The confirmation devastates Ava because it also proves that her cheating flashback was real. Overwhelmed by possessive fury, Eli demands to know how many times she offered what's his to another man. She says she cannot remember. He grabs her throat, rips her dress down, twists her hard nipples and cups her bare, wet core, discovering that she is wearing nothing underneath. He accuses her of preparing to meet her lover, then flips her against the door. When he slides inside, he says he is going to fuck her hard until she is officially owned. Her body tenses as he meets tight resistance, and she realizes it is actually her first time. Eli starts to pull out, but she sinks her nails into his arm and tells him not to stop, since he has already taken her virginity and better make it worth it. He pushes in again, thrusting deep and slow at first, then harder while rubbing her core until the pain turns to fierce pleasure and she comes hard. He bites her neck, growls that she is his, and finishes inside her. He pulls out, and sticky fluid of blood and semen slides down her thighs. She whispers that this means she didn't cheat on him. When he steps toward her, she tells him to stay the hell away from her, straightening her dress and resisting the urge to break down. She tries to leave, but he drapes his jacket over her and carries her out, saying he refuses to let her walk out in front of the entire world looking freshly fucked. She looks away as her chin trembles, and a tear slips down her cheek. Ava pretends to be asleep during the drive home, remaining half-conscious as Eli later wipes her thighs before carrying her upstairs himself, brushing off Sam's offer to help. He gently undresses her, draws a warm bath, and joins her in the water to hold her. With quiet patience, he washes her sore body with Honey and Rose's shower gel and wipes the makeup from her face. After lifting her out, Eli carefully dries her, dresses her in a clean nightgown, and tucks her into bed. He strokes her throat, kisses her forehead, and tells her to sleep well. Bewildered by his sudden tenderness, Ava surrenders to the darkness and closes her eyes. Ava wakes up alone in the large, cold bed, with the lingering soreness confirming that the previous night truly happened. She puts on a dress and makeup before heading downstairs, where Sam is busy in the kitchen. When Ava asks who bathed her and helped her into bed, Sam initially claims responsibility, but eventually admits that Eli carried Ava upstairs, refused her help, and took care of everything himself. Ava learns that Eli has fired the male household staff and replaced them with women. Before Ava can process the possessive move, Sam gives her the morning after pill Eli left behind, sparking pure fury. That afternoon, Ava changes into her most revealing mini-skirt, low-cut top, and knee-high boots, determined to provoke him. She marches into King Enterprises, puts the disrespectful receptionist Tyler in his place, and chats with the junior receptionist Haley. After learning that Eli is away inspecting a site, Ava enters his office and spots a framed wedding photograph of him kissing her at the altar, with a possessive arm around her waist. She intentionally messes up his organized workspace before leaving with a new idea. She knows Eli hates other men, something he made clear long before their marriage. She tells his assistants to inform him that she is visiting Remy at Steel Corporation. When Ava arrives at Remy's office, her jaw nearly hits the floor when she finds him kissing a girl who turns out to be her younger sister. Ava calls out, "Ariella Jasmine Nash," and strides toward them with big sister rage. Ariella responds with visible annoyance, calling her Ava Dahlia King. When Ava asks if she thinks it is funny, Ariella says, "Nope. I thought we were calling each other by our middle names." Ariella says she and Remy are getting married in about 6 months, but Remy denies it. Ariella remains confident he will come around and blames Ava for interrupting them. Before leaving for university, Ariella tells Ava, "Don't pussy block me again. That's totally against the girl honor code." Once Ariella leaves, Remy sits on the sofa with a heavy sigh and asks whether she will ever give up. Ava says not when he encouraged her. Besides, since she has had a major crush on him since she was 13, Ava does not believe giving up is on the menu. Remy finally notices her outfit and warns Ava that Eli would be furious if he saw her dressed so provocatively around him. Remy teases Ava about still being in love with her husband, but she quickly denies it. Just as Ava raises her hand to pinch Remy for the comment, the office door flies open. Eli stands in the doorway, staring at Ava with dark, suffocating intensity, her own god of war. Eli has always prided himself on total control, believing throughout his 29 years that any emotion is a dangerous sign of weakness. Yet Ava continues to shatter his detachment, especially after Henderson tells him that she visited Remy Astor in a revealing outfit. Eli abandons an important meeting with overseas government officials and confronts them, wrapping his jacket around Ava to cover her before carrying her out over his shoulder. Back in his office, Ava returns the morning after pill, accusing him of cowardly delegating it to Sam. Eli places it back in her palm and bluntly explains that he very much wants to fill her with his cum, have a dozen children with her, and tie her to him for life. But they both know she is not ready for that, so he gave her the option. He did not force her to take the pill, and only left it there in case she wanted it. Ava swallows the pill dry, murmuring that she really hates him, then heads to the sofa and drops onto it. When Eli sends Henderson his decision notes from the meeting, the reply is immediate. His father has removed him from the international project for leaving the meeting, though Eli keeps his frustration hidden. Ava notices his mood change and hands him an ibuprofen capsule for his headache, teasing, "It's the day we give each other pills. We should make an anniversary out of it." When the tension peaks, Eli pulls her closer and questions her about her past experiences with other men. Ava explains that she had done things with other men, blowjobs, oral, that sort of thing, but had never had proper sex before Eli. She confesses to a hazy flashback of being with a half-naked man and admits she is worried she cheated. Eli resists a smile when he realizes the man in her memory was actually himself, but he chooses not to reveal it to protect her mental state, and instead reassures her that the vision was merely her imagination. Ava warns him that she will ruin his life if he ever betrays her, then demands that he take her to an early dinner and a West End show. She also asks him to fire Tyler and make Haley Sr. at reception because Tyler was staring at her, and Eli agrees immediately. Ava laughs and shakes her head, thinking she led Eli into that decision. Little does she know that he is the one walking her round and round in the custom cage he carefully constructed for her. Ava comes to the depressing realization that Eli has no sense of fun and is moody and tightly controlled. After Eli demands another change because half her back is exposed, Ava refuses, and they head to a grand Lebanese restaurant in Belgravia. Ava pouts that he should have let her wear her cute skirt and top, but Eli says, "Audition clothes for a stripper is more fitting." When she jokes about visiting strip clubs because those girlies have the best stories to tell, Eli forbids the idea and then questions her about an old university game. He brings up the never have I ever fucked or experimented with someone of the same sex game from university. Ava explains that she only accidentally kissed Cecily in secondary school, and it meant nothing. Eli points out that she still took the shot, and Ava explains that she used to drink heavily. But now she no longer misses alcohol. Over the meal, Ava notices Eli cutting his food into tiny pieces without actually eating. She asks whether it is related to his OCD, and he says it is mild, self-diagnosed, but plays a part. She then asks about the other part. Eli reveals that he was poisoned at 6 by a maid sent by one of his father's rivals to eliminate his only heir, leaving him unable to trust food prepared outside home. His mother and Sam agreed to make all his meals, though his mother had no cooking skills. Ava sympathizes, but Eli warns her not to pity him. After dinner, they watch Moulin Rouge, where Ava claps, dances, and sings along while Eli guides her through the crowd with a hand at her back. When Ava asks why he married her specifically, Eli says he needs the camouflage of a stable family. When she asks why her, he answers, "Because it's you." Returning home, Ava feels a quiet gloom settle over her as they part ways at the top of the stairs. Feeling bad that Eli has not eaten all day, Ava heads toward the door to warm up some food for him. Suddenly, the door swings open and Eli strides into her bedroom, his stormy gray eyes filled with desire. He wraps a hand around her throat and says, "Be my dinner." Then he pulls her against him and kisses her with unrestrained hunger. Ava surrenders completely to the passionate embrace, eager to leave all lingering questions for the morning. Eli knows he should keep his distance, but he is powerless against his overwhelming desire for Ava. In the bedroom, Eli flips Ava onto her stomach, stroking and rubbing everywhere he can touch. Her soft skin and familiar scent drive him crazy. He rips her dress open, slaps her arse, then lifts the thong's elastic band and lets it snap against her flesh. He puts a pillow under her stomach, wraps his belt around her throat, and rubs himself along her wet core until she begs. Then he thrusts all the way inside her in one go and fucks her rough and fast from behind while holding the belt and her hair. He keeps going hard even after she comes, shaking and screaming into the pillow. With desperate lust in her voice, she asks him to let her look at him, saying she wants to see him. He almost gives in, but the image of Ava's cold, unreachable eyes flashes through his mind. He slams back into her and tightens the belt so she stops talking. He finishes inside her, then pulls out mid-orgasm and spreads his cum over her red arse, pressing some into her untouched hole. With one last slap, he releases her. After cleaning her, Ava asks why he only touches her from behind and why they cannot do positions that involve looking at each other. Her voice cracks as she asks whether he does not want to see her face. He tells her they are not lovers and that this is only fucking, so he does not see why they should engage in any form of intimacy. She gives him a fake smile and says she will take this as an apprenticeship to learn how to please her future lovers, making his jaw clench. He holds back his anger as she orders him to run her a bath. After Ava asks him to join her in the bath, he refuses, saying he does not like baths. Ava throws a shower gel bottle at the door as he leaves. The next morning, Eli enters the kitchen to find an unfamiliar breakfast. Sam reveals that Ava rose at dawn to make the entire meal for him, burning 2 batches and bandaging her fingers before falling asleep exhausted on the sofa. Finding her asleep in a dirty pink apron with flour on her cheek, Eli gently strokes her bandaged hands with quiet reverence. When Sam urges him to tell Ava the full truth about her condition and their past, Eli refuses. Every day is a tick drawing Ava closer to her next episode, which Dr. Blaine says will be worse than the last. Eli vows that even if she erases him again, there will be no escaping him. He will claim her again and carve his name beneath her skin so deeply that she will find him in her dreams and nightmares. Ava looks up from her phone during a cozy girls' night with her mother and sister, Ariella. Over salted caramel popcorn and sticky candy floss, the 3 of them watch a Japanese drama together and laugh on the sofa. As the conversation turns toward her relationship, Ava reflects on the past 3 weeks with Eli. Their physical intimacy has become intense and frequent, with sex every day and sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, but she has never seen Eli naked. The only time he was naked was after their first time, when she couldn't bring herself to open her eyes. Eli still maintains an unyielding emotional barrier, always keeping her positioned away from him and never letting her look directly into his face during their most intimate encounters. He prepares baths for her afterward and takes her to dinners, but he never lets his guard down or allows her into his inner world. Noticing that Ava is lost in thought, her mother asks if everything is all right. Ariella playfully teases her about looking radiant, claiming she has the unmistakable glow of regular passion. When her mother asks if Eli is giving her a difficult time, Ava admits she enjoys testing his patience and wonders about the compromises within their marriage. Ava remembers how her insistence on marrying Eli caused trouble for her parents. She apologized after learning about it, but her mother told her there was nothing to be sorry for while her father remained silent. When her mother admits she never understood why Ava was so insistent on Eli, Ava asks why she helped her. Her mother explains that Ava's eyes told her everything her words could not. Besides, with time, she came to understand how things worked between them. The warm moment is interrupted when her father, Cole Nash, arrives home and asks whether she is finally ready to divorce Eli and return to live with them. Cole closely examines Ava, asks whether she has lost weight, and suggests they sue Eli for neglect because he is not feeding her properly. Ava assures her father that Eli takes her out to dinner regularly and treats her well. Ava says she has promised to meet Eli for dinner, then embraces her family and says goodbye. As she heads out, she hears her father ask, "What's the restaurant? Maybe they'll join." Her mother asks if he wants to start a world war, and he promises to behave. She reminds him that he said the same thing before locking Eli out of the house. He replies, "It wasn't on purpose, Butterfly. I genuinely mistook him for a cockroach. Not my fault he has more resemblance to vermin instead of humans." Smiling, Ava turns toward the door, ready to face her nemesis. Ava sits in the front passenger seat beside Leo as he drives her away from her parents' estate. When Ava asks, why did Uncle Aiden remove him in the first place? Leo reveals that Eli walked out of an important meeting because of her surprise visit to Remy. When they arrive at the Ritz, Ava meets Eli, who looks strikingly elegant in a tailored black suit. Eli asks why she is riding in the front seat and calling Henderson Leo. Ava says they are friends and points out that his name is Leo, short for Leonardo. Eli then whispers an intense, possessive warning in her ear to behave during dinner. They join potential investor Robert Myers and his quiet wife, Janet. While Ava bonds with Janet over designer fashion, Robert behaves inappropriately, making suggestive gestures and openly staring at Ava. When the conversation turns to business, Eli offers a strategic partnership in exchange for Robert's funding, which would help him regain the project his father removed him from. Robert responds with a repulsive proposal, pointing his knife at Ava and offering his wife in exchange for a night with her. Before anyone can react, Eli snatches the knife and jams it through the back of Robert's hand, breaking the plate as Robert's scream fills the restaurant. With chilling composure, Eli warns Robert that he will gouge his eyes out if he ever looks at Ava again. Eli pulls Ava from her seat and leads her out of the restaurant. Before leaving, Ava tells Janet, "You deserve so much better." Outside the hotel, Ava confronts Eli, who makes it ruthlessly clear that he will ruin or eliminate any man who dares approach her. Ava realizes that Eli is behind the disappearance of her exes and any possible love interests. He then pulls her into a fierce, consuming kiss, leaving her acutely aware of his dark obsession and the dangerous bond binding them together. Eli avoids criminal charges after the public stabbing, but the resulting media scandal creates severe tension with his father. Ava visits her in-laws for dinner, hoping to smooth things over, and spends time with Elsa before speaking with Aiden. Ava explains that Eli acted because Robert Myers crudely demanded to sleep with her, defending her husband's intense loyalty and business talent. While Aiden acknowledges Eli's protective instincts, he firmly states that a true leader must consider the consequences of his actions rather than create a public scandal. Their conversation is interrupted by the sudden arrival of Landon from the United States, who playfully teases the family before Aiden tells him not to mock Eli's situation. When Ava prepares to drive home in the car Elsa lent her, Landon stops her and asks whether she knows why her therapist changed and whether she has had any strange episodes lately. Ava says she has been stable since waking up in the hospital and, aside from the panic attack outside the restaurant, has not had any of her usual episodes. Landon says that deep down, Eli does care about her, but in his own screwed-up, twisted way, and his methods will sooner or later come back to bite him. He points out that a man doesn't go to the lengths of eliminating each one of her prospects, and then proceed to marry her if he doesn't care. Ava responds that ownership and care aren't the same thing. As Ava drives into the night listening to music, Eli's name flashes on the screen. When he realizes she is driving, Eli shouts at her to pull over immediately. Ava is shaken by his rare outburst because Eli never yells at her, not even at the height of her provocations. Ava pulls over, mostly because she is shaking too badly to drive. An image flashes through Ava's mind. She is slumped against a car, covered in sticky blood pooling across her skin, hands, and thighs while more blood spreads across the pavement. Eli's booming voice reaches her, but she cannot look away from the blood on her hands, wondering what she has done. When she finally looks up, his face is distorted and blurry. He tells her to look at him, guides her through breathing, and asks her to take his hand. Her shaky fingers finally lift, and Eli pulls her into his embrace as everything goes black. Eli arrives in a panic after tracking Ava's phone and finds her slumped over the steering wheel. He taps on the window, and when Ava slowly lifts her head, she still looks deeply distressed. She says she had a panic attack and confirms she took 2 pills dry when he asks about her medication. Eli checks her pulse and gently soothes her. With a small pout, she says, "You yelled at me. I didn't like it." He tells her it won't happen again. She talks about having fun with Aunt Elsa, says dinner with Uncle Aiden went well, and offers to share the food with him. Her lips twitch in the tiniest smile, and he releases a long exhale, thinking it's her. His wife is back. After helping her gather her belongings, they join Henderson in the car. During the drive home, Ava asks why driving triggers such intense panic. Eli dismisses it as unimportant, so she shares her theory. He does not want her to know about an accident he believes could have traumatic effects and interfere with her mental state. She mentions the memory of blood on her hands, and he asks whether she has remembered something. Ava asks whether she can trust Eli's judgment about her memories, explaining that he saw her at her worst, stayed, and never treated her as abnormal. Eli warns her against trusting him completely because he cannot always trust himself. Even so, she considers him more trustworthy than her own head. A text from his father, Eli King, arrives, reinstating Eli onto the corporate project. Eli realizes Ava spoke directly to Aiden in his defense, irritating him because he never wanted her to speak for him. When they reach home, Ava defends her decision to help before rushing inside after Eli snaps at her. Henderson steps in and reminds Eli that Ava put her pride aside just to support him. When Eli enters his bedroom, he finds Ava waiting with a hand on her hip. She says she wants to move into his bedroom, but Eli refuses, insisting on maintaining boundaries and reminding her that she was the one who wanted separate rooms. Ava asks whether he will come over to fuck her because angry sex is her favorite. Eli says he'll consider it. Ava then sets firm conditions for their physical relationship, saying she will only allow him to touch her if he looks directly into her eyes while inside her. She flashes him a sweet smile and adds that he will have to share his bed with her too. She tells him she is not his whore but his wife, and he will treat her as such. When he asks why the sudden change, she says she changed her mind and gives him a choice. Either give her what she wants or she'll find someone who does. Eli grabs her arm and warns her that she belongs solely to him and has no other options. Ava kisses the corner of his mouth and playfully tells him to decide quickly before sauntering out of the room. Watching her go as she sways her hips and flips her hair, Eli realizes he will fuck up everything for this woman, including her lifeline. Ava video calls Cecily for seduction advice, frustrated that Eli has completely shut her out for 10 days. When Cecily asks what happened 10 days ago, Ava admits she gave Eli a condition. He cannot touch her unless he moves into the same room and looks at her face while being inside her, but his response was to shut her out completely. Cecily encourages her to stand her ground and suggests using Landon to provoke Eli. Ava teams up with Landon and Remy to throw a wild party on Eli's luxury yacht, with Sam providing the catering and Henderson smuggling her the keys. Ava wears a little pink dress with a tulle skirt and a tight sheer lace corset with built-in cups. Within an hour, the yacht is brimming with people whose names she barely remembers or where she met them. Remy complains that Eli overloaded his schedule after Ava's last visit and gave Ariella full access to his schedule. Remy asks whether Ava invited Ariella, and Ava explains that her sister invited herself after learning he would be there. Before Remy can say more, Ariella jumps on him in a koala embrace. Ava socializes with friends and refuses the drinking competitions. She feels she should be rewarded for staying sober so long and barely being tempted, but since she feels good and knows how impulsive she gets when drunk, she considers it a win. She then approaches the bar for another drink, where she finds Gemma with Vance. She confronts Gemma for trying to seduce Eli, firmly dismisses her excuses, and orders her to leave. Vance steps in, saying he wants to rekindle their relationship. Ava reminds him that he insinuated she cheated on Eli with him despite knowing her memory is unreliable. He insists that Eli is attempting to destroy his family business, lying to her about many things and manipulating her life. Insulted by his assumption that she cannot think for herself, Ava angrily tells him to leave. Eli appears behind her and threatens Vance with violence if he does not leave within 10 seconds. Landon appears and drags Vance away, leaving Ava face to face with Eli's furious gaze. Ava untangles herself, reminds Eli that he was not invited, and then marches toward a group of university men to dance provocatively. Breaking his usual restraint, Eli strides into the crowd, scoops Ava into his arms, and carries her to a private bedroom on the lower deck. He throws her onto the mattress and pins her down, wrapping a hand around her throat as he tells her she wants to be punished like a very bad wife. The air crackles with tension as Ava stares into Eli's cold eyes, his body pressing against hers and making her realize how much she has missed him. He pulls out his belt to bind her hands, but Ava refuses because she wants to see him properly this time. Eli says he wants to bite her throat and draw blood. Ava agrees, saying she trusts him not to hurt her, and knows he will stop if she asks, calling it a reasonable price for seeing him naked. She sits up, cradling his thighs as she reaches for the second button of his shirt with trembling fingers. They strip until they are both fully naked for the first time, facing each other. She runs her hands over his muscles, notices a phoenix tattoo trapped in the branches of the tree of life, and a red scar near his lower abs. When she asks what happened, he says, "Not important," without emotion. He pulls her onto his lap, and they kiss hard and dirty while she grinds against him. He lifts her and thrusts inside her, forcing her to keep her eyes open and look at him. He bites her neck hard and fucks her roughly, calling her baby as she comes shaking around him, and he finishes inside her. She briefly loses awareness, then notices that he called her baby. Afterward, Ava drifts into a brief daze before teasing him as he carries her to the shower, where they have sex again against the tiles. While getting dressed, Eli fires Henderson for letting the party happen, but Ava immediately overrides him, rehiring and promoting him and saying she will pay him more with Eli's money. Afterward, Ava joins Eli outside on the deck, where he trades sharp banter with Landon before they leave. Ava dozes off during the ride home and later wakes in Eli's bed, cocooned in his arms beneath a soft lamp he has left on because he knows she cannot sleep in darkness. Feeling the safe, steady rhythm of his heartbeat, Ava holds him tighter and eventually drifts into the deepest, most dreamless sleep of her life. Ava uses a fake name to make an appointment with Dr. Blaine, seeking answers because her fugue states are getting worse. She sometimes wakes up unaware of where she is and becomes unresponsive to Eli. She knows it has happened at least 3 times in the past few weeks, though the real number is likely higher. She asks Dr. Blaine to increase her medication so she can feel like herself again, and asks her not to tell Eli that she knows about her condition. Dr. Blaine explains that, legally, Eli must approve any increase in medication or change to Ava's treatment because he is her guardian. Feeling trapped by her lack of independence, Ava asks whether she will ever be normal enough to have children. Dr. Blaine's silence devastates Ava. She realizes she could not raise children and would most likely be a threat to them. Better yet, she should not have them, and that would leave King Enterprises without an heir. She leaves the appointment with a heavy heart and tears burning her eyes. Later that afternoon, Eli invites Ava to watch him be a sex god. She means play polo, alongside Aiden and Landon against Cole and Remy. The sidelines are filled with energetic banter, especially between Ariella and Nikolai, Bran's fiancé, while Mia tries to keep the peace. Eli scores the winning goal and walks over to hand Ava the game ball. When Cole asks whether she is divorcing Eli anytime soon, Eli says they will remain together forever and give him many grandchildren. The mention of having children triggers a sudden wave of panic, and Ava loses awareness of her surroundings. Eli immediately guides her to a nearby bench, gives her water and medication, and gently checks her pulse. Eli asks what triggered her, wanting to remove the potential hazard, then reveals that he knows about her unauthorized appointment with Dr. Blaine. Ava realizes he has been tracking her location. Feeling like a helpless puppet without any real agency, Ava admits that she has realized she may never be her own person and asks to go home, eat a bucket of candy floss, and watch rom-coms. Eli refuses and takes her hand, telling her he has a better place in mind. Eli is haunted by the constant dread of losing Ava as her mental presence continues to slip away. When they arrive at his grandmother's private island, Ava admires the estate, and Eli offers to give it to her with 3 conditions. She cannot have another man drive or ask for a divorce. When Ava asks him to name his happiest memories, Eli shares that one was when his father told him he was born different and had no reason to feel ashamed of it, but should be as proud of it as his father was of him. Ava smiles and says, "I love your dad." Eli points out that his father is married. Ava replies, "And so am I. Get your head out of the gutter, bro." Eli corrects her, saying, "I'm not your bro. I'm your husband." When Ava asks for his second happy memory, he names the day they got married because that was when he got to own Ava officially. They walk down to the secluded beach, where Ava playfully splashes him before running along the shore. Eli chases her like a predator after its prey and catches her, lifting her into his arms. Ava lowers herself to her knees, whispering that judging by his erection, he might have liked the chase a lot. She frees his hard dick and begins sucking him slowly while looking up at him. The thought of her past experience giving blowjobs to other men enrages him. He grips her hair and tells her he prefers fucking her throat his way. He thrusts deep into her mouth, rough but controlled, while she blinks up at him through tears until he comes hard down her throat. He kisses her, tasting himself, and then she climbs up him and begs to be fucked. When he realizes she is wearing no underwear, he carries her inside. He lies back, applies lube to his fingers, and carefully stretches her untouched back hole. She lowers herself onto his thick cock, taking him into her arse for the first time. She rides him slowly at first, then harder as he praises her. They both come together, kissing deeply. After carrying a tired and dazed Ava into the bathroom, Eli carefully settles her into the warm bath. As he turns to fetch the shower gel, Ava catches his wrist, looks up at him with radiant vulnerability, and softly says, "Let's have a baby." Ava remains determined to have a baby, using their remaining time on the island to grow closer to Eli through beach days, hikes, picnics, and intimacy. During a sunrise hike, she brings up children again, but Eli makes it clear he will never prioritize an heir over her health and will handle any family expectations himself. He agrees to consider children only if it is safe for her to become pregnant. When Ava asks how he knows she wants 3 children, Eli reveals that she wrote it in a confession letter 6 years earlier. Mortified, Ava listens as Eli recites the letter, in which she confessed her crush, imagined marrying him, planned for 3 children and pets, and admitted to struggling with anxiety and depression. She accuses him of memorizing it to embarrass her, but he says he simply has a good memory. When she asks why he paid attention to her back then, Eli explains that he initially saw her as a chaotic, trusting girl whose weaknesses he could use, but her repeated attempts to antagonize him at university turned his interest into investment, then obsession and possession. He eventually decided she could not be with anyone else and married her. When Ava asks whether he ever felt anything beyond obsession and possession, Eli admits there was always constant fucking annoyance. Though she jokes about romance being dead, part of her shatters. She realizes Eli is capable of care but not love, giving her companionship and protection without giving her his heart. She fears that one day he will move on while she slowly fades away. 2 days later, they return home because Eli is called in for an urgent work matter. Ava spends hours practicing her cello in preparation for a possible competition, determined to take one final chance so that, whether she succeeds or fails, she will have no regrets. That evening, she receives a call from Vance from an unknown number. Vance says Eli had him kicked out of the UK over criminal charges and that he is at the airport before the travel ban takes effect. Vance brings up Oliver, Ava's former university friend. She says he is somewhere in South America, but Vance says Oliver actually went missing and that, based on what he learned from Gemma and the others, he is pretty sure Eli was involved. When Ava asks what that has to do with her, Vance points out that she married Eli quickly and without explanation right after Oliver disappeared. There has to be something there. He believes Eli is threatening or blackmailing her. Ava's grip loosens, and the phone falls onto the table as everything rushes back. 2.5 years ago, Ava regains consciousness with her head against the steering wheel after apparently swerving to avoid a lorry and hitting a pole. She finds herself mostly unharmed, but realizes she has lost time and cannot remember exactly what happened. A sudden knock on the window startles her, and she opens the door to find her university acquaintance, Oliver. When Ava steps out on unsteady legs, Oliver grabs her around the waist, his grip tightening until his fingers dig painfully into her midsection, and offers to take her home. When Ava firmly refuses and pushes him away, Oliver turns aggressive, accusing her of giving him mixed signals and saying that being an attention whore is her personality. He then slaps her hard enough to split her lip, shoves her against the car, repeatedly slams her head against it, and harshly grabs her breasts. Trapped and overwhelmed by dizziness, Ava silently begs for a miracle to stop him as she loses the strength to fight back. Suddenly, Oliver is ripped away. Ava watches in shock as Eli, the last person she expected to save her, pins Oliver to the ground and repeatedly punches his face until he lies limp and silent in a pool of blood, splatters covering Eli's shirt, neck, and the ground. With terrifying calm, Eli kicks the lifeless body and remarks that it is his first time murdering someone. Yet it is disappointingly uneventful because he feels nothing. Paralyzed with fear on the cold asphalt, Ava whisper yells, asking if he's dead. When Ava panics and suggests calling an ambulance, Eli questions why she cares whether Oliver survives after attacking her. He covers her with his jacket and warns that if anyone discovers what happened, they will both go to prison because he will report her as an accomplice. If she says nothing, the entire incident will vanish. They will stay afloat together or drown together. Her moral compass seems to be taking the weekend off, which she blames on the alcohol and whatever pill she took earlier that night. When she asks what he wants, he strokes her trembling lower lip and says, "Marry me and I'll bury our secret." Eli is no longer surprised when Ava refuses to follow instructions and does whatever she wants. Ever since university, Ava has made provoking him a sport, often scheming with Landon to make his life hell. It could have started with the foolish letter she wrote him, though he initially saw it as nothing more than the rambling of a naive child. Over time, he became drawn to her chaotic pink aura. He noticed her hiding her struggles behind radiant smiles, keeping her vulnerabilities from her friends, and staring into mirrors while quietly reciting her name, age, and love for the cello. What began as a game of driving away each other's romantic prospects gradually grew into a fierce obsession and an urgent need to possess her. After Bonneville gives Eli the after-party's location, Ava nearly crashes, leaving the car park. Eli then spots Oliver, the man who danced with Ava earlier, following her closely and turning off his headlights. He trails Oliver instead. Enraged by the thought of Oliver touching the woman he intends to claim, Eli takes the longer route, costing him 5 minutes, so Oliver will not notice him following. When he reaches the road near the motorway, Eli sees Oliver violently pinning a terrified, trembling Ava against her car. A blinding wave of murderous rage takes over, turning his vision red for the first time. Eli steps out of the car with chilling calm, already embracing the thought of killing Oliver. When Ava's faint cry for help reaches him, Eli knows he is no knight in shining armor. What he is, however, is the only man allowed near her. After that night, Ava was his, no matter what methods he had to use to make it happen. On the wedding day, Ava stands in the buzzing hall, overwhelmed by dread as she realizes how completely trapped she is. As Ava walks down the aisle, her father, Cole Nash, keeps her steady after previously begging her to reconsider the marriage rather than tie her fate to Eli King. Ava has kept the truth about Oliver's death hidden out of fear, knowing Eli is now her legal guardian and has power over her. She considers telling her father everything, but remembers how her parents' relationship becomes strained whenever she is the reason for conflict, and believes Eli is right that she needs to get out of their lives rather than remain the cause of their misery. At the altar, Cole quietly threatens Eli never to hurt his daughter. Eli responds with a chilling smile before taking Ava's trembling hand. Standing before Eli beneath her veil, Ava is overwhelmed by terror and considers running away. She thinks she cannot marry him, not simply because he killed a man in cold blood, but because she genuinely fears he might one day do the same to her. She had always dreamed of marrying him, but believed it would be out of love. Starting their marriage through blackmail feels completely wrong to her. She believes he married her to keep an eye on her, and will make her life hell. Leaning down, Eli whispers a ruthless warning in her ear, telling her not to think about running away. He threatens that if she tries to escape, he will kidnap her, take her somewhere no one can find her, cut her off from her family, and if she becomes a problem, he will slice her throat and end her life as effortlessly as he did Oliver's. Paralyzed by his threat, Ava stands frozen through the vows, realizing that "till death do us part" is no longer a meaningless phrase. Once the priest pronounces them husband and wife, Eli lifts her veil, wraps an arm around her waist, and kisses her fiercely and possessively in front of the guests. He bites her tongue, the metallic taste of blood mixing with the pain and intensity until the cheers, claps, and music fade into a distant buzz. Ava remains limp in his unyielding embrace, helplessly overwhelmed by his possessiveness as he finally pulls back and whispers roughly, "Mine." Back in the present, severe sleep deprivation is beginning to erode Eli's vigilance because he is constantly afraid Ava could sleepwalk to her death. He remembers catching her at the edge of the balcony on the island, where she had stood smiling at the ground before he pulled her back. When Eli returns home, he mentally prepares for another sleepless night. Henderson warns that the routine is destroying his health and urges him to place Ava in specialized institutional care. Eli refuses, pointing out that the last time Ava was institutionalized, she nearly took her own life. Despite the personal cost, he is determined to protect her. His purpose is her. Hearing erratic cello music from the media room where Ava usually practices, Eli immediately notices that it is high-pitched and lacks her usual elegance. Instead, it sounds intense and dangerous, filling the room with urgency. Eli hurries inside and finds Ava surrounded by shattered glass from the coffee table. Her bare feet and hands are bleeding, and blood stains her dress, the rug, and the ruined room as she continues playing. When Eli approaches, Ava knocks the cello aside and orders him to stay away. She reveals that her full memories have returned. She remembers that Eli forced her into marriage to cover up Oliver's murder and threatened her with death on their wedding day. Eli asks whether that is all she remembers, demands and controlling behavior. Ava then recounts how Eli used controlling measures to manage her deteriorating condition, making her listen to her parents' argument about her state to influence the guardianship transfer, forcing her to stop drinking and later tying her up to make her sober, requiring her to take her medication, and locking her in a psychiatric ward when she refused, changing her therapist, separating her from her friends, blacklisting her from UK clubs, tracking her phone, banning her from driving and having people follow her. He restricted her from drinking, partying, and going out alone, leaving only his people, their families, and a few close friends as her permitted companions. To Ava, all she remembers is demands and controlling behavior. Standing on the broken glass, Ava breaks down over everything Eli has done to control her. Then another memory returns. During their previous confrontation, she asked him to let her go, he refused, and she stabbed him before stepping backward and falling down the stairs. She realizes the scar on his abdomen is from her. Overwhelmed by unbearable emotional pain, Ava presses a jagged shard of glass to her throat and threatens to kill herself unless Eli divorces her and transfers her guardianship back to her father, Cole Nash. Eli agrees to her demands to keep her calm, then slowly approaches before knocking the glass away and restraining her. He thinks that a few months ago, she wanted to kill him to get away from him, and now she is willing to kill herself just to escape him. Ava sobs and promises she will find another way to die if Eli refuses to free her. Eli retrieves the emergency tranquilizer and injects her, holding her as she becomes limp. Before going still, she whispers, "I'd rather die than stay married to you." He drops his forehead to hers and allows himself to mourn his wife one final time. On the night of the accident, Eli reflects on how he discharged Ava from the psychiatric facility against everyone's advice because he could not bear to watch her suffer under strict confinement. Sam is a trained medical professional and therapist, which is why Eli's parents hired her as his nanny. She knows how to handle his destructive behavior and Ava's episodes, and was the first to notice that Ava's condition worsens when Eli is around and report it to Dr. Blaine. Because his presence worsens Ava's condition, Eli stays away for long stretches and returns home only after Sam confirms that she is asleep. Eli knows that following Dr. Blaine's advice and keeping Ava in the hospital for 5 to 6 months might give him a more present wife, but he cannot forget the image of her strangling herself with the sheets in that dark hospital room. He refuses to put her through that again. Eli has become so attached to Ava that the thought of losing her makes him physically sick. Late one evening, Eli returns home and finds Ava standing at the top of the stairs in an off-white silk gown, tears in her eyes. Ava asks why he cannot look at her and confronts him about disappearing for weeks. She asks him to tell her directly if her episodes and suicide attempt disgust him instead of leaving her anxious and paranoid. Ava says Eli has never treated her like his wife. When Eli points out that she told him not to touch her, she clarifies that she meant only on their wedding night, when she was scared and confused, not for the entirety of their marriage. She also fears he wants to replace her with a healthy woman. Eli steps back when Ava moves closer, resisting the urge to touch her because he knows he would lose control. He has abstained since Oliver's murder because his face triggers her, and he refuses to take advantage of her vulnerable mental state. He assures her that he sees her more than anyone or anything else. Ava refuses to believe him and reveals a large kitchen knife, telling him to let her go or she will stab him. Eli tells her that there will never be a day when she is no longer his wife and steps toward her, saying that killing him is the only way she can be free of him. When Eli reaches for the knife, Ava swings it erratically and drives the blade deep into his lower abdomen. Blood soaks Eli's shirt as Ava realizes what she has done and, horrified, says she didn't mean it and only wanted to threaten him. Ava backs away in panic, her trembling legs carrying her toward the stairs. She loses her footing and falls backward down the staircase with a violent thud. As the world goes black around him, Eli knows that if Ava is gone, he will make sure it is the end for him as well. Eli has not left their bedroom for an entire week, surrounding himself with the lingering scent of Ava's products. He remembers cleaning her wounds before calling her parents to take her away after realizing that his presence has become a direct threat to her life. True to his word, Eli agrees to the divorce and guardianship transfer and gives them everything they ask for, while Ava returns all the gifts he bought her, including the cellos he bought her over the years. Staring at the ceiling, Eli calls Ariella every day to ask about Ava. Ariella tells him to stay away and reveals that Ava signed the divorce papers in tears. Ava now wants to voluntarily enter the psychiatric facility and is considering the new shock therapy method Dr. Blaine recommended, but her father is against it. Ava is tired of running away and has chosen the treatment herself, despite her father's objections. Ariella says Ava has been doing noticeably better since leaving Eli's toxic orbit, especially after Cecily visited her. Eli insists that he has respected Ava's wishes by staying away, but he will not disappear completely and intends to remain involved behind the scenes. Ava's father thinks the chances of success are too low, and the process is painful. Eli feels crushed by his powerlessness, finding life bleak, gray, and empty without her. When his mother asks him to open the door, Eli refuses because the last thing he wants is to hurt her, and he does not want to speak to anyone. His father's voice booms from the other side. "How dare you turn away your mother, you insolent punk?" Aiden adds, "Step away, sweetheart." His parents, Aiden King and Elsa King, then force their way into the bedroom. Aiden says Eli looks like a caveman with his unshaven face and that he stinks. Eli responds in a deadpan voice, thanking for the unconditional support and saying he really appreciates it. Aiden tells Eli there is no need to pretend he is okay after Cole got his wish, and says there is nothing wrong with him grieving the loss. He also tells Eli not to blame himself for choosing to save his marriage. Eli still keeps the fact that Ava stabbed him from his parents because he wants to protect his mother's relationship with Ava and prevent his father from turning against her. Elsa comforts Eli by sharing her childhood experience with an unstable mother and explains that specialized care may be necessary for Ava's long-term healing rather than an act of abandonment. She explains that Ava herself asked for the treatment and that, despite her condition, she is self-aware and resilient. When Eli asks what he should do now that Ava wants him completely out of her life, Aiden tells him to wait, keep his distance, and watch over her until she is ready. Elsa reassures him that Ava is strong and worth waiting for. Since Ava waited years for Eli to come around, he can do the same. Ava seeks comfort in Cecily's hugs as they watch movies together, with her admission to the psychiatric facility only days away. Reflecting on her returned memories, Ava recalls that her earlier breakdown was triggered by seeing a video of Gemma flirting with Eli, making her fear that he would replace her. In panic, she attacked him, accidentally stabbing him before falling down the stairs. When Cecily wonders why Eli handed over the divorce papers so easily, Ava admits that she forced his hand by threatening suicide. Cecily comforted her, revealing the hidden truths behind Eli's fierce actions. Cecily explains that Eli took full guardianship because he believed her family was too soft on her alcoholism and unable to make the hard decisions needed for her well-being. Cole even punched him over it. Eli had banished her former therapist after he was caught on the verge of selling her and other patients' confidential information to a pharmaceutical conglomerate. Her first admission to the psychiatric ward happened after pressure from everyone over her constant panic attacks and fugue states, but Eli still visited her every day and stayed for hours despite his busy schedule. Sometimes she recognized him and sometimes she didn't, but he stayed by her side until she tried to strangle herself with the sheets. He discharged her the following day and threatened to shut down the institution when they resisted letting her leave. He stayed awake for countless nights to protect her from sleepwalking, bathed her after her episodes, stopped drinking, and secretly sponsored charity performances to revive her love for the cello. He kept his physical distance because he believed his face triggered her. Hearing this, Ava breaks down, realizing that she is deeply in love with Eli, and that the pain of remembering she had hurt him was too much for her to bear. Despite Cecily's encouragement to reach out to Eli, Ava insists on going through with the admission and letting him move on. She decides she must heal first, so she will no longer be a danger to him or herself. Cecily embraces Ava as she cries softly. Ava wishes it could be the last time she ever cries because of Eli King, but her tears seem to believe they belong to him, like everything else about her. Cole realizes his life was never going to be peaceful after 6-year-old Eli walked up to his eldest daughter on the day she was born and kissed her on the mouth. Cole considers killing Eli to permanently remove him from his eldest daughter's life, even exploring an autopsy-proof poison. When Eli grants Ava a divorce and revokes his guardianship rights, Cole thinks he is finally rid of him. For 2 months, Eli visits the psychiatric facility every night while Ava sleeps, spending the entire night watching her through the door like a creep. A few weeks ago, the doctor allowed him to sit by her side, where he held her hand and read her favorite romance novels before leaving before dawn. He even bought an out-of-print edition for over £2,000 because she liked it. Cole tried to kick Eli out, but Eli refused and tried to turn Silver and Ari against him. They reminded Cole that Ava and Eli were not officially divorced, and that he could not file a restraining order against Eli. When Cole sees Eli and Aiden in the reception area during a daytime visit, he confronts them and asks why they are there. Eli explains that he came to visit, and asks about Ava's progress with the new therapy regimen. Cole can tell that Eli hates losing control over Ava's condition and no longer being able to monitor her constantly. He also sees how much restraint Eli is using to stay out of her life, so he does not hurt her again, and respects that he always puts Ava's well-being before his own. Cole tells Eli that Ava has not had an episode in 3 weeks and is responding well to the lower medication dose. Aiden tells Cole to set aside his petty grudge, revealing that Eli has lost weight, barely sleeps or eats, and is forcing himself through work while Elsa worries constantly about him. He also reveals that Eli hid the stabbing to protect Ava from Cole's reaction and any damage to their family relationships. Stepping back into Ava's hospital room with drinks, Cole found her laughing warmly with her mother Silver Nash and Cecily. Ava says the romance novel feels strangely familiar, though she cannot remember reading it. When she worries that she may be losing time again, Silver reassures her that she might have read it aloud while Ava was sleeping. Ava cautiously asks whether Eli has asked about her. Silver confirms that he has. Ava's lips push into a pout as she says, "But he hasn't visited once." She then adds that although she doesn't want to see him, that doesn't mean he shouldn't visit at all. Cecily laughs and calls her a contradiction. Sitting beside Silver, Cole reflects on his love for his family and the painful realization that he must let his daughters make their own choices, even if that means abandoning his plans to kill Eli. Cole opens his phone and sends a message to the group chat with Aiden, Xander, and Levi, declaring that he might not murder Eli after all. Ronan then announces that Remy wants to marry Ariella and demands a dowry of a few buildings. Cole immediately rejects the demand. "Over my dead fucking body." Levi sums it up. "What can I say? Our children take after us." 3 months later, Ava celebrated her 24th birthday surrounded by pink confetti, balloons, and loved ones after Dr. Blaine officially discharged her from the clinic, deciding that Ava could function properly in society without posing a threat to herself or others. In the kitchen, Jeremy reveals that Eli had visited Ava every night at the facility, reading romance novels by her bedside while she slept. Deeply moved, Ava receives a dry birthday text from Eli and decides to visit his house to collect the few things still missing from her belongings. After everyone leaves, Ava goes to Eli's house, where Sam and Henderson welcome her. She claims she wants to take her potted plants as an excuse. Sam offers to have them shipped, but Henderson suggests that Ava look at them first and guides her to the greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, she discovers that Eli had fired an uncooperative gardener and hired another who nurtured and expanded her beloved hybrid flower beds. Henderson tells Ava that Eli is in his study and asks whether she wants to see him. When she refuses, he calls it ridiculous that she came for her mythical missing things while refusing to see Eli, and that he's made men disappear from her surroundings since university instead of admitting he has feelings for her. Surprised, Ava asks whether Eli has had feelings for her since then. Henderson says he was confused about those feelings, so his solution was to eliminate any competition. Ava then decides she should see Eli one final time just to curse him and get it off her chest. Eli suddenly appears after Henderson falsely tells him that Ava has fallen. When Eli turns to leave, saying he will be out of her hair, Ava calls after him and demands the return of the custom watch he is wearing, reminding him that she bought it, not Aunt Elsa. Eli refuses, saying he knows she had it made for him years ago, but it is his now and he does not give away what is his. Ava says she thought she was his too at one point, but he had no trouble giving her up. Eli reminds her that he only agreed to the divorce because she put her life on the line for it. Ava tells him she now understands his sacrifices and asks him to promise that his care, adoration, and protection will eventually develop into love and that she can forget about the divorce, no matter how long it takes. Eli closes the distance and tells her there is no need to wait. He confesses that his possessiveness and obsession had long since transformed into all-consuming love and that she is the only light in his world. Eli says he killed for Ava and would do it again in a heartbeat, even killing everyone if it meant keeping her. He admits that his love may not be healthy, but the heart she awakened in him is entirely hers. Ava apologizes for stabbing him and threatening suicide, explaining that she spent the past 5 months working tirelessly to heal, for herself, for him, and for their future. Ava reaffirms her love for him and asks for a fresh start together. Eli agrees in a soft whisper, and they share a deep, tender kiss as they begin their new life together. Ava's moans echo in the hall as Eli carries her into their bedroom, kissing him the whole way while Sam and Henderson grin and clear their throats. After 5 long months apart, Ava is overwhelmed by happiness as Eli tells her how much he missed her scent, voice, laughter, and even her bratty behavior. He lays her on the bed and kisses her as he undresses her, continuing to name the things he missed most about her. Ava kisses him back and tells him how much she missed him. Eli promises that she will never leave his sight again, and Ava readily agrees. He sucks her nipples until she nearly comes, then they finish undressing each other. Ava touches his phoenix tattoo, and Eli explains that the phoenix represents her as a beautiful mythical being who can be reborn from the ashes of her illness, while the tree of life represents him and his belief that he could contain her rebirth each time. Overwhelmed, Ava kisses him and begs him to fuck her after 5 months of abstinence. Ava asks whether there were any other women during their separation, and Eli assures her that he had no interest in anyone else. She admits she is just as possessive and jealous as he is. He slides inside her tight, wet heat and groans at how perfect she feels. He thrusts deep and steadily, then harder, while rubbing her core and making her say she is his. She comes first, clenching around him, and he follows, filling her with his cum. They kiss as though it is both their first and last time. Ava tells Eli she loves him and is all his, and he returns her declaration. Ava falls into his arms with a tearful smile, welcoming their new life together. 3 months later, the hall erupts in loud applause as Jeremy kisses Cecily at the altar. Ava celebrates with the bridesmaids in matching pink gowns she helped coordinate. The celebration follows Nikolai and Brandon's wedding 2 months earlier, because Nikolai refused to marry after Jeremy. More weddings are planned, Kill and Glynn next month, Lon and Mia in 6 months, Annie and Cray in a year, with Ari likely to follow soon after. Ariella rushes after the bouquet, teasing Remy that she is working for their future. Eli King steps up beside Ava, looking exceptionally handsome in his tailored tuxedo as he wraps an arm securely around her waist. Over the past few months, they have traveled together and spent time on the island, growing closer and turning Ava's former dread into deep devotion. Ava knows that Vance mysteriously vanished after landing in Melbourne, but she has no interest in questioning Eli about it. Adjusting his bow tie, Ava laughs as Eli complains that the wedding is delaying their usual morning routine. When Ava cautiously asks about recent sleepwalking, Eli strokes her pulse point and assures her that it happened only once, a month ago, due to the stress of her competition rehearsals, as Dr. Blaine explained. It was brief and normal, with nothing alarming. Reassured, Ava tells Eli she wants children. He agrees, saying they can have all 3 now that she is stronger and doing well. Eli scoops Ava into his arms and carries her to a private side room to start trying for their children, while Ava embraces their future together. 17 months later, Eli comforts Ava as she complains that when she said she wanted 3 children, she didn't mean at the same time. "It's all because of you, bastard." She then closes her eyes while sitting upright as little Sierra nurses. Little Sierra nurses while Eli finishes bottle-feeding their son Seth and tucks him into the crib beside his naughty sister Zoe. At nearly 4 months old, the triplets keep their tired parents awake through sleepless nights. Eli recalls Ava's harrowing labor, which lasted all night, and how he threatened the doctor to ensure she survived before seeing her tearful smile when they first held their children. Ava considers the triplets her greatest blessing, especially after winning the international cello competition on the day she found out she was pregnant. She was also invited to perform with one of London's most affluent orchestras 3 times while pregnant with them. Although she paused her international tours to focus on their family, she remained ambitious and became involved in mental health charities with her mother. Her episodes had become few and far between, and Ava embraced herself without shame, turning to Eli whenever difficult moments arose. She also remained willing to admit herself to the institute again, if necessary for their future. Watching Ava doze off, Eli carefully transfers Sierra to the crib, but Ava stirs awake. Wrapping her arms around his waist, Ava says she still blames his sperm for 3 kids all at once. Eli promises to spend the rest of their lives making it up to her and firmly declares that Ava will always come before their children, just as his father puts his mother first. When Ava teases Eli about following Cole Nash's example by refusing to let any suitor near their daughters, he agrees that he will never give his girls away. Resting against his chest, Ava thanks him for loving her, supporting her patiently, treating her normally, and giving her their beautiful life together. Caressing her cheek, Eli reaffirms that she will always be his wife.